We ready, everyone? Okay. All right, wonderful. Well, welcome, everyone, and thank you for being here. My name is Monica Byron, Monica Byron. I'm an educator on leave from the Richfield Public Schools, and I am the president of Education Minnesota. We called this press conference today to join in the statewide Day of Unity declared by Governor Walz. We want to thank Governor Walz and every elected leader across this state who is standing up for the people of Minnesota. What is happening right now in Minneapolis is an unprecedented threat to the safety of all Minnesotans, brought upon by our own federal government. We all know what tragedies have happened in Minneapolis, but the ICE oppression is reaching every corner of our state. We have members reporting ICE terrorizing students in St. Paul, Bloomington, Columbia Heights, Burnsville, Fridley, Richfield, West St. Paul, Osseo, and Apple Valley. We have seen ICE agents in Roseville circling school property, just waiting for families to pick up their children. In Greater Minnesota, students in St. Cloud, St. James, and Rochester are afraid to go to school for fear of being harassed, assaulted, or worse by the very people our government was sent to protect us. We have seen our students assaulted and our colleagues wrongfully detained. Every moment ICE remains near our schools endangers children, educators, and families. Beyond the physical danger, ICE's actions directly undermine teaching and learning. Just in the last 2 days, an elementary school was placed on lockdown, and schools in Minnesota's largest city were forced to close. That's 2 days of learning our students will never get back. Parents should never have to choose between their children's safety and learning. Yet seats are empty in Minnesota's classrooms across the state right now as families are keeping their students at home. They are just trying to keep them safe. This disruption comes on top of the ongoing fear and emotional harm students experience when ICE operates in their communities. As Minnesotans and Americans, we agree that schools must be places of safety, learning, and belonging. This is not a partisan issue, it's a moral one. We demand that ICE operations be kept away from schools so students, educators, and staff can learn and work in safety and peace. Finally, as part of this Day of Unity declared by Governor Walz, we urge our members and the public to join us in acts of service and a moment of silence at 10 a.m. today to honor the life of Renee Nicole Good. Now, I'd like to introduce Katina Taylor. She's the president of the ESP chapter of the Minneapolis Federation of Educators.
Thank you, Monica. Good morning, everyone. My name is Katina Taylor, C-A-T-I-N-A, last name Taylor, T-A-Y-L-O-R. I am an educator in Minneapolis Public Schools and the president of the Educational Support Professionals chapter of the Minneapolis Federation of Educators. Let me make one thing crystal clear before we go any further. We need ICE out of Minneapolis now. We need ICE out of Minnesota now. We need ICE away from our schools now. Since arriving, ICE has been a dangerous and out of control force, putting every Minnesotan in danger. A mother was murdered. An elementary school was forced to lock down. Grown men used pepper spray on terrified high school students on school property. And that was just on Wednesday. This is the opposite of protecting our kids. This is the opposite of keeping the peace. Nothing about this is okay. Nothing. As educators, we give everything that we have to support and protect Minnesota's next generation. We need our federal government to do the same. Our schools should be a safe place for students and educators to learn and work. As long as ICE is in Minnesota, we won't be safe. Nope. On this day of mourning, our hearts go out to Renee Good and her family. To make sure no one else has to suffer this devastating loss, ICE needs to stay away from all of our schools starting today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Katina. Next, I'd like to introduce Chris Erickson, the president of the St. Cloud Education Association.
Thank you, Monica. My name's Chris Erickson, ChrisErickson. And I'm a media specialist in St. Cloud, but currently serving as a full-time release president of the St. Cloud Education Association. I'm here today to talk to you about the toll the unlawful ICE activity is taking near our public schools and the anxiety and fear it has caused our students and educators. The anxiety when educators walk into their classroom each morning, unsure of whose desk will be empty that day. The fear as they load their students onto the bus at the end of the day, not knowing whether that child will return to their family or to an empty house. The worry for their own safety and their colleagues. This constant worry is actively harming our staff and our students. It has changed the shape of our workday as we've put new protocols in place to try and keep everyone safe. Next week, we're scheduled to have parent-teacher conferences. This is a vital time for us to discuss our students' academic progress with parents. But right now, we're looking at doing parent-teacher conferences differently because many parents do not feel safe coming to our schools because of the fear of being taken away from their schools, their homes, and their workplaces. I had a special education teacher who works with students with physical and cognitive disabilities, and she shared with me that one of her students stated in a message to her, "I'm afraid to go to school." This came from a student who's always excited to come to school and who needs to be at school. We have other educators who need to go to students' home to work with some of our most vulnerable students. And they are now reporting to me that some families are refusing to open the door, and others are unenrolling their children. Public education's a right, and every child in Minnesota deserves to attend a public school that is safe and welcoming. But that cannot happen as long as ICE remains in Minnesota. They need to leave our state, and they need to leave our schools now. They need to leave us alone. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Next, I'd like to introduce Wendy Marchek. She is the president of the Bloomington Federation of Teachers. Wendy.
Thank you, Monica. Wendy Marchek, WENDYMARCZAK. Good morning. I am a 20-year employee of Bloomington Public Schools, and I'm currently the president of the Bloomington Federation of Teachers. As educators, we're taught from day one that our first responsibility is student safety. Our job is to protect children and to create a warm, welcoming environment where our students can learn and thrive. That becomes impossible when ICE is stalking your schools. ICE agents deliberately wait outside the school building during drop-off and pickup times, trying to catch parents and take them away. The consequences of those actions are devastating. Everyone is scared and angry. Teachers feel helpless to protect their students. Students are not coming to school. Learning is being lost. Learning every child has a right to. Staff are afraid to come to work. Some educators are staying home because their own children are afraid to go to school. Families are turning to online schooling out of fear that their children may never see their parent again. Students are crying because they don't know if they'll ever see their friends again. The children are afraid, the adults are afraid, and we are trying to hide it. But teachers feel defeated. They miss their students, they worry constantly about families, and they ask themselves, how do you teach in an environment like this? We train for school shootings. We do not train for our own federal government to terrorize children. Ask yourself, would you want your child going through this? An entire student body is being traumatized by witnessing ICE activity around their schools. When ICE operates near schools, those schools feel under threat, and that is unacceptable. In Minnesota, we value education, yet right now, the federal government is scaring students, families, and school staff. That makes one thing painfully clear. Our children's safety and education are not being treated as priorities. If they were, ICE would stay away from schools. Stop using our children as pawns, stop terrorizing families, and stay away from our schools.
Thank you, Wendy. To close, I would like to once again urge everyone to join us in the statewide Day of Unity by taking some time to help your neighbors, participate in community actions, and joining in the moment of silence at 10 a.m. to honor Renee Good. I would be happy to take any questions at this time.
So when you talk about ICE agents showing up outside of schools during pickup, drop-off, can you give us some examples of like what's happening? Are they going up to students, or walk us through what that looks like?
So we've heard various things from across the state, from ICE agents standing close to school grounds during drop-off and pickup to circling the school properties. I don't know if anybody else would like to add some things, but Wendy, I'd like
I
to
could add a little bit.
Yeah.
Our school, Valley View Elementary School, has been hit significantly. 142 kids didn't come to school yesterday, and we're just a tiny elementary. The ICE agents, one did pull into the parking lot, and they know they can't, so they were asked to leave. But they stand on the other side of the street. Our schools are in neighborhoods. So we know they're there. The teachers know they're there, and they are circling. And it was a family that does attend our school, their kids. They were not home, and we found a way to keep the children safe. But that's just one person, one family. Our teachers are literally following the buses home because they don't know on the other end if there's going to be a parent or not. They're literally shopping and buying products, everything that they can do because people don't want to leave their homes. And the students, all the students are suffering. They don't know the next day if they'll have a friend or not. And the teachers are just, they're scared. They want their kids back, especially their special education teachers. So that's just an example.
And then you mentioned an example, I think, about pepper spray.
I mean, I'm pretty sure you all saw a couple of clips, whether it was social media or on the news. Yes, they were at Roosevelt High School. And the force that we witnessed, it was sad. We need ICE out of Minneapolis and out of Minnesota ASAP. Look at that video. It will break your heart.
I have a question for the gentleman from St. Cloud. Your representative is Representative Tom Emmer. He has spoken out in support of ICE and these actions. Do you have any response to that?
Tom Emmer, certainly has gone in line with our federal administration on many things that are wrong, in my opinion. And he's not representing our St. Cloud area very well and the needs of our students, our families there. He certainly is, been at a place that, I've tried to have conversations with them, and they are way different than what we believe that is best for our students. And, again, he's wrong in many things that he's done along the way. So, yeah, he's not good for us.
Can you give us just figures to, numbers with the districts that you guys are a part of? And I know I'm familiar with Minneapolis being one of the largest in the state. Where does St. Cloud fall again?
We have about 9,000 students in the district, like 14, major school sites and a few other, smaller school sites. But we have students that, it's a pretty large district, geographically. So we do cover a lot of area. And we have students that come in from all over central Minnesota to attend our schools. We have a great school system and something we're very proud of. We'd like to keep it that way, but we've been growing too. Every year we get 200 to 300 more students. So.
Bloomington Public Schools has about 9,600 students. We have 2 high schools, 3 middle schools, 10 elementary, an online school, and an early childhood center. We also have a community ed building where many of our families' parents attend. Anything else?
They already know about Minneapolis.
I'm like, yeah, we don't. I think overall too, you mentioned the videos from Wednesday. And you have mentioned that you have seen clashes between ICE agents, educators' families before. What is the breaking point for you, and what made you want to hold this press conference today?
Thank you for that question. Our educators cannot do the job that they were hired and trained to do because Minnesota's students are not in their classrooms. We wanted to make sure that everyone knew that our students, our staff, our educators are safe, have a place to go to learn. And that was the reason for joining in this Day of Unity, for having this press conference. We urge Minnesotans to stand behind our families and our communities. Our students deserve safe and welcoming schools.
Do you know if any of the federal agents have taken any students or families since they really ramped up this week?
So as far as specific students, some things we're hearing and we're trying to gather and disseminate the correct information. There's a lot of social media posts. There was a student yesterday that was detained at the Target after working at the Target in Richfield. I contacted, since that's my home district, I've tried to contact folks. I heard that he was a student of the Richfield Public Schools. I cannot confirm that because I have not had confirmation on that. That was just from social media posts. But we are hearing from families, from educators, that students are scared. They have had some confrontations, but to actually confirm and get all this information right now amidst all the chaos has been difficult because a lot of those families then want to protect their students and their children and make sure that that they're safe.
What exactly would you do if ICE tried getting into one of your schools? You mentioned that they've been on school property, they've parked in the parking lots. What if we get to a point where they come knocking on the door?
We have implored all of our unions across the state and the school districts to have protocols in place. We need to make sure that what ICE is doing in these federal actions are lawful. So there are sites that will make sure to have a protocol, like go to the district office, have staff come in to those sites if ICE does try to get through those doors. And again, there are things that we can do that are to protect our students, but we also understand that if ICE comes with a federal warrant, we will honor that as best we can and make sure our students and our families are safe.
I can add one, St. Cloud.
Yeah, thanks.
In St. Cloud, our superintendent, Lori Putnam, has, given us some direction on what to do if we do have, federal agents, doing something at our doors. Have given us some clear instruction on that. We've had, some training on it. And, that's an unfortunate piece that we've had to train around that. It's time that we're taking away from, developing curriculum and, working with kids. So what we've done there is, we will direct those agents to go to the district office, and we make sure that all of our doors are secure as usual, but we just have to we're on alert when kids are outside for recess, if they're doing things, bus duty when we're outside, we're always looking, and that's just such an uneasiness to it that we're always having to have our ears turned around, wondering, who is that person over there that's around our schools. But we do have protocols in place, and we will legally comply. That's been the directive as well, that we will do that, to the best of our ability.
Are there cohesive plans, like, between all the schools, or have you been forced to create a plan individually? Is that something you guys have all discussed together?
I think the superintendents across the state have probably reached out to each other to, work on some common plans. Our superintendent didn't share that with us, but they do on a lot of issues that they try to have some similar plans. But it also depends on the school district and where they're at and what sort of things are happening in that school district. We like to have a lot of local control in what we do, so there's times that we don't always agree. But.
This is my last question for you guys. We saw that Minneapolis Public Schools are allowing remote learning for families that want it. Are a lot of schools across the state considering that? Is that already in place?
So we know Minneapolis has made the decision based on the needs of their students. MDE just issued guidance that if schools need to switch to e-learning, they can do that. In the past, it's been for inclement weather only. So we don't know of other schools currently looking at that, but as ICE activities continue in their communities, it is an option for our schools to be able to offer e-learning for our students so that they can continue to learn. These are days that are interrupted, that educators are not able to teach their students, so there is an opportunity for e-learning if it's needed by our districts.
And so far, Minneapolis is the only one.
So far, Minneapolis is the only one that we know that has taken action on calling e-learning days.
Did Columbia Heights and Fridley join them overnight?
They may have. I know that because of all the activity yesterday, to be honest with you, I don't know for sure, but I wouldn't be surprised after the information that we heard from our leaders and the educators in those areas. So, thank you.
How have you guys addressed the students about what's going on?
I can say something. All right, in Minneapolis, we have been ahead of the game a while. Our superintendent has collaborated with us and administration and buildings to talk about all of the protocols around keeping our kids safe inside and outside of the buildings. And so we've just been ahead of all of these things for a while. And just to be clear, can you say that again just so I can make sure I didn't miss anything?
How are you communicating it to students?
How we communicate. So we send out communication weekly. Sometimes they may get it twice because of, things happening so much every day. But communication we send out weekly to parents and students and staff.
I'll add that, what we do in St. Cloud, and I think in districts across the state, that we care for our students when they're there every day. We try not to be too emotional. We try to stay stable, and that's been a direction or a directive that keep the course, but be on alert and know that there's counselors and other mental health people available in our schools that could help our students. If we see something, we get them to the right resources. We've done some things, getting food pantries and things in place that can help these families. So, we try to, collectively do that around our students. But when we're in the classroom, it's really about our students and the learning that needs to take place. We try to keep that, a lot of the outside influence away from them.
Well, thank you all for being here. We appreciate the time that you've taken to hear us today. Thank you.
Thank you.